data analytics, yes, they do have a role because in policy making as well as improving our processes, data helps us a lot. Ethical base reminds us that we are working for the public. We have to take decisions which are in public interest. Okay,
Mm.
not in my own interest as a policeman, not in my own interest as a officer of some other department, not even in the interest of the department sometimes, not even in the interest of the government of the day,
Mm.
but public interest. What is good for public, what is bad for public, according to that we have to take the decision.
The Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, the first IIT to be established in India in 1951, is recognized as an institute of national importance. In line with the institute's motto of excellence in action is yoga, the Public Policy and Governance Society of IIT Kharagpur considers it a great honor to host Mr. Kulwant Sarangal for an insightful discourse as part of its policy podcast series. Mr. Sarangal, a distinguished member of the Indian Police Service, boasts over 30 years of extensive experience in both rural and urban policing, intelligence, and disaster management. His academic pursuits include studying comparative constitutional developments in the realm of free speech, with a keen focus on intersectional discrimination and horizontal inequalities. Throughout his illustrious career, Mr. Sarangal has demonstrated Mr. Sarangal has demonstrated unwavering dedication to public safety and security. His notable achievements include planning the 2015 Kumbh Mela, where he gained valuable experience in managing events and ensuring crowd safety. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Kulwant Sarangal for sharing his invaluable knowledge with us today and eagerly look forward to the insights he will bring. Sir, a very warm welcome to you. So let us get started.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me this evening on this prestigious podcast. So we can start now.
Yes, sir. So the first question we wanted to know is, so this is slightly related to your life as an IPS officer. So how did this journey to becoming an IPS officer start, and what motivated you to choose this very career, basically in law and order?
You see, back in 80s, there were not many choices before people in terms of employment, etc. So I was a humanities graduate, and my parents we were from humble background. My parents were illiterate. They were displaced during partition, and they came from Pakistan, and then they re-established themselves. They were illiterate. They did not know much about education and other things, but they made it a point that their children, they should be studying because they valued education, and they knew we can rise through education only. That much understanding was in those days. I think was they were visionaries in a way. They did not treat us as additional earning hands, their children, but they encouraged them to educate themselves, and they supported us in all manners. As we have precedents always in our family, also my elder brothers, they were also trying for civil services, they qualified also. And then I also followed them. And as I told, there were not many choices in terms of employment in those days. So first I joined a public sector bank, and then I started preparing for for UPSC, and then qualified for this Indian Police Service. That is how I joined Indian Police Service.
Okay. That was really great, sir. So the next question. The police play a vital role in disaster management, often being among the first responder. Can you elaborate how police department prepares and manage the disaster situations?
You see, police is the original crisis managers. They are the original crisis manager. They are the oldest, in a way, arm of the state, which is always present used to be present on the ground. Means before colonial period also, means Jimindas and others, they used to be the policemen. Some sort of police in some or other form was available, and they were having footprint everywhere in the society. Okay, so people used to look up to them in distress in those days also and later on also. So when the police was organized, means much later rather, means in 1861 when the 1861 Act was passed. But before that, there was many experiments, and there was a police. There were a police in the society, and uh, there were no other agency which we could say that present everywhere in the society. Fire brigade, the other uh, uh, disaster responder, they came much later on the scene, say I think in first decade of the
TRFNS.
19th century. Yeah, 19th century rather. First decade of 19th century when a wing of fire brigade was added in, means attached to the police in Mumbai, then Bombay. And then it was regularized and separated later on and became part of municipal corporation. So police has always been a crisis manager. Whenever there was a distress in the society, people used to come to them only because they were the only visible arm of the government. So they are the original responders to the disasters. And now this role, I don't think has been really instituted, but now we have a much better structure. Okay. But even then, I think there is a problem of capacity building as far as police, as if disaster responders or managers are concerned. Now we have a much better structure. As I told, we have a Disaster Management Act. We have a community-based disaster management uh, ideas, and communities are being empowered and being capacities being created at the village level, block level, district level, etc. And there's a whole lot of structure. But even then, even now, police is the first responder because something goes wrong in the society. People do come to the police station or they do inform to the police, and police has to reach there because disasters also have a sort of content of law and order because you have to manage law and order also. Okay, you have to restore order also in a chaos when some disaster happens. So first agency to reach anywhere when disaster happens is the police, maybe state police or maybe some other police forces which are central agencies. So police is always was always there as a disaster responder, and it is there, and people will keep looking up to police as first responder as well as crisis managers.
Okay.
So building on to this, so in your career, uh, uh, like uh, you have worked a lot in the road safety department.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of the famous cases where we found information about you, okay, when we were searching on this, was the Cyrus Mystery, the road accident in which Mr. Cyrus
Yeah.
Mystery passed away. So,
Yes, yes.
my yeah. So my basic question is like, even though the safety standards have increased on Indian highways, and even though the cars are becoming safer and safer, uh, like, is there something more which can be done from from the side of the law and order, from the establishment to avoid accidents? Mostly, how to increase the road safety? What do you think more can be done?
Yes, see, road safety, like any other, like disaster management, now is a multi-agency discipline. Many agencies are involved. Road safety also is a multi-agency effort because we are only enforcing Motor Vehicle Act, restoring order on the roads, and managing the traffic flow as policemen. But then there are other agencies like uh, what we call either transport department, uh, uh, RTOs, etc. Then there are road owning agencies like National Highway Authority or in Maharashtra, MMRDA is there, or sorry, MSRDC is there. Those who are constructing roads, they have also a role to play, and they have to set the ball rolling, and then police has to take over once the road is complete or means manage the traffic in urban settings as well as on the highways like we have in Maharashtra, highway safety police. Okay, it's a special department for managing traffic on the national and state highway. So police is one component of that. Like we have in criminal justice system so many agencies. In road safety also police is one of the agencies, and we are supposed to have order on the road, motor vehicle act along with the transport department, and then regulate the traffic flow as a trained policeman. So police has also a role, but they are also dependent upon other agencies also. So as far as motor vehicle act is concerned, we are enforcing, we are imposing fines, etc. But then you see ultimately road users, they have also to internalize certain behaviors, because we cannot simply have means fines imposed and collect them and maybe filling the coffer of the governments that we have collected so much fine, say 300 crores or 400 crores per annum, but that doesn't help much. Enforcement is one part, but then discipline on the road is another part. That has to come from the road user only. Yeah, when we enforce motor vehicle act or other rules and we impose fine, that also has an impact on people in modifying their behavior. I give you one example. uh, when these penalties were enhanced, say they were, I think, made 4 or 5 times a year or so ago, then that has a deterrent effect on the people. So enforcement, imposition of fines has an impact, but then the behavioral changes what we require in the drivers or the road users, respecting the rights of other road users, that is also important. For which police also makes effort, transport department also makes efforts, and even NGOs, they also make efforts, and they try to educate road users how to behave on the roads. It's not a major psychological change we are expecting from the people, but simple fundamental principle is when you are on the road, follow the road discipline and respect the right of other people, other road users. That is how it should be. Because imposition of fine, we cannot brag every year that I have imposed 300 crore rupees of fine and we have recovered only 30%. Kind of. It's not a revenue generation enterprise. Ultimately, it is safety and security issue. And that has to come from within us, the road users. They have to have some certain kind of behaviors which facilitate road safety.
Yes, sir, that was really great. So next question is mostly related to Maharashtra. So during your tenure as an additional DGP traffic in Maharashtra, you successfully managed the crowd and traffic surge during the Ganpati festivals in Mumbai across the state. So how was your experience about that?
You see, Ganpati Festival is a major religious and cultural event in Maharashtra. So
Yeah.
many people, those who are means migrant from Konkan area, they go back to their places, means in the Konkan area, and then the huge traffic flow in those 15-20 days while they go back to their places and then they come back. So we have to manage that traffic. That is basically managing the traffic flow on the national highway, which goes from Mumbai to Goa. So that is comparatively a simpler thing. So you have only to ensure that there are no blockages and you're helping people, those who are going when they are in distress, and roads have to be in proper shape, and then you have to help the people, and you have to prevent accidents also, and you have to ensure that there are no road blockages. So that was a great experience because we have their standard operating procedures also, which are improved on every year in the light of experience of the previous year, what happened or what not happened and what we can improve, etc. So that is a kind of planning which is a continuous process, and we keep on improving on that.
So
It was
talking
nice
about the
meeting you, sir.
numbers,
Yeah.
how can we what percentage of crowd might be increased during the time of festivals in Mumbai during Ganpati festivals?
You see, offhand to tell that how much it increases or what, but you might you are presumed you are from Maharashtra. The kind of
Yes.
euphoria and kind of enthusiasm we have during Ganpati festival, almost every person, every family, irrespective of religion, I'm telling you, Religion has nothing to do with it. They do come on the road on specific days. So I think it's must be more than 4 or 5 or 10 times we have crowd on the roads, even vehicles, etc. Also, especially on the days of installation and when we have the immersion procession on third day of fifth day or seventh day or ninth day or 11th day. So 11th day, of course, is the huge challenge for everybody, including all agencies, including we have to provide infrastructure, we have to ensure safety, we have to ensure security, we have to ensure crowd flow, etc. Everything is included in that. So crowd means, I mean to say, means it's not measurable in a way, because we expect that everybody will come on the road, and people do come.
Okay.
Yeah. So following on this question, so how crucial do you think is data and analytics in the management of traffic? And has there been any change in your tenure in how they used to manage traffic flow earlier, and how they use uh, and how they're using technology now to manage it much better?
Maharashtra probably were the first state where they had implemented this one state, one e-challan system. That was started in 2019, and I took over as ADG traffic in 2022 in January. So that was already being implemented, and then we try to improve on that, those processes, and we try to refine that system also. But then there was one more initiative which might have come through now, I suppose, is the intelligent traffic management system on this Pune Express way. And then there was also one move for having the similar system on the Samruddhi super communication highway, which now connects Mumbai and Nagpur. So data analytics, yes, they do have a role, because in policy making as well as improving our processes, data helps us a lot, and we can find out means at least the extent of the problem. Okay, so one state, one e-challan, what we used to call in Maharashtra, they are calling it now again, we're still continuing this project. There, the interface with the drivers, means with the road users, the human interface was made, brought down to the minimum. Okay, so we used to have certain processes where, means with the help of technology, we used to detect violation, and then the system itself used to disseminate data to the backend, and from there the charge sheet, or what we call challan, used to be issued, and people had an option to pay fine also through digital modes, and sometimes we had to switch over to, means say manual mode also, when we had to take out drives, etc., for recovering fines, because ultimately, if you are imposing 100 rupees fine per day, let us say 100 rupees, we used to recover only at the end of the month, say about 30%. The 70% used to remain unrealized. So you had to make efforts to realize that, and then sometimes you had to sort to some manual methods also. But ultimately, you see, when we are having super fast highways now, express highways, super communication highways, there you cannot disrupt the traffic flow in the name of implementing your laws. Okay, that will create congestion. You have to reduce the human interface also for other purposes also, like, means say reducing corruption also. Okay, so on the highways, the best solution is to have the digital kind of enforcement, and then the other processes also which are integrated with the same process, like detecting, charging, collecting fines, etc. And then that helps also in detecting crime also sometimes, because when a vehicle is means detected violating, or some data is captured about a vehicle, at the backend processes we can come to know about the activity of that vehicle, say about a year or so since when we have data on our system, and we can find out how many violations it has committed as far as road traffic laws are concerned, or whether it is a stolen vehicle, or was it involved in some crime, etc. So that is also helpful. So I think digital mode of enforcing traffic laws is now essential, necessary for the smooth traffic also on the highways.
Okay. So that was really a grateful insight, sir. So the next question, as you has a lot of experience in urban area as well as rural area. So from your 30 plus years of experience, what was the primary challenges that you encounter in urban policing compared to the rural policing?
You see, urban policing, it's a very concentrated kind of population, right? So like a city like Nashik or Nagpur or Pune means the crowd densities means population density is huge. So basic purpose of urban policing is to ensure safety of the public spaces and the public there, those who means visit those spaces every day, and then the floating population. Like you imagine now this MMRD area, okay, Mumbai, Thane, Navi Mumbai, Mira, Bhinder, etc. Huge number of people, they do come in the morning to Mumbai, they work there for the whole day, they go back. Like Pune also, like Nashik also, in Nagpur also. So you have to have different kind of challenges what you have in the rural areas. Number one is the visibility of the police. Police has to be very, very visible. And number two is to ensure safety of these public spaces, especially women and children in these public spaces. You have to have better response system. When there's something happens, you have to respond immediately. You cannot delay it. Okay. Then the safety and security, because like the issues like terrorism, etc., you have to be very alert about these, because the crowded places are always targets of the terrorists also. You have to work on that front also. Then there are certain elements of disaster management also, because there is a fire incident, there is a wall collapse during monsoon, etc. So there are many challenges, varied and multi-dimensional challenges in urban areas where police has to be on their toes. They have to be visible. They have to respond immediately. They cannot say that something has happened, let me wait for some time, or let me wait for enforcement, then only I will go. No, you have to rush immediately. Even if you are a police commissioner, and sometimes you have to also rush, right? You cannot say I'm a police commissioner and then I'll wait, first my ACP will go, then my DCP will go, and then I'll go if need be there. Okay, so it is always about response, and I think it's very proactive kind of policing in the city areas, urban area. Rural areas, of course, are very widely spread. Means a particular police station be having, maybe catering to say 25 or 20, 30 police villages, or maybe 70 villages also. But you may be having very limited number of manpower. Okay, then you are more dependent upon your informers. Police parties, as we have in Maharashtra, if something goes wrong, police party will come to the police station. Now we have a battery communication through mobile telephony, so they will call the police station, they will report something has happened. Then it will take some time to reach there. The transport issues may be there, because police station may be having limited transport facilities. Our head constable or sub inspector, he may have to use the public transport. Kind of many problems. Okay, but even then, rural areas also are being well managed by police, and public order, tranquility, crime prevention, etc., is being well managed all over India, even in rural area, and now in the police commission is also in urban settings also.
Yeah. So, sir, a slight continuation from this question. So the police has, let's just say, a reputation which is good uh, for responding as a first responder, but they also have uh, a slightly nebulous reputation when it comes to corruption at the root levels. So, so what do you think could be the main contributing factors for this, and how can we as citizens and as a nation work to reduce this malaise in the future?
I'm not trying to defend police, but you see, you have to see this issue in a context. Ultimately, police also come from the same society where there is a certain element of tolerance or acceptability of corrupt practices also, right? But nonetheless, I'm not defending any particular department or police. But then you see police, the original street level bureaucracy. Okay, they work on the street. That is street level bureaucracy. They are visible arm of the government since long, not today or tomorrow. Means they will will remain like that, only a street level bureaucracy. They have a wide discretionary powers, and wherever there is a discretion, there are problems, because discretion more or less is misused, abused. Power and discretion is a deadly combination. Then the laws are always ambiguous. Okay, so when you're a street level bureaucrat, you are under pressure to maintain public tranquility, peace, public order, etc. And at the same time, you are supposed to implement the law also. And there's nobody acting as a legal advisor with a head constable or a constable to interpret the law. So they become the interpreters of law also as a street bureaucracy. There is a discretion, there is an interpretation which may be different from what tomorrow court may say, right? So these are the problems which contribute to this malaise of corruption also, and that is a problem in police also, in some other departments also, and that is a problem which we have to tackle. And senior leadership and leadership at all levels, they keep trying that we are able to check this malaise, and sincere efforts are made by everybody. And moreover, everybody is not means uh, corrupt in any department. There are certain people, yes, we cannot deny, they do indulge into some unethical practices, but then we have to be vigilant. We have to means always keep track what our people are doing on road, how they are performing their duties. Then we have to encourage public also to come back to us with their complaints, grievances, and then we have to hear them out. We have to look into those complaints also. We cannot mean say, okay, if somebody is coming to me with a complaint against a policeman, and then I should say, no, 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 no. You have to give a fair hearing. You have to have a fair inquiry, fair to both sides, and then you have to find out what is happening and why it happened and how we can check it.
Yes, sir. Sir, so in your views, how crucial are ethics and integrity in the career of police office? As well as this is one of the subject in UPSC civil services, so that
UPSC
might be
also
there.
now. Integrity has been very thoughtfully introduced in UPSC, because ultimately you see future civil servants, they have to come to this service with some ethical based values, integrity, morality, etc. Right? So UPSC might have felt, or maybe intelligence and all people may at some stage of their career, or felt that yes, we need to reinforce the ethical values, morality, integrity, etc. And then they started testing uh, aspirants means on these issues also. Now, ethics and integrity, they are very, very important for any department, not only for police. Because
Exactly.
ethics, uh, ethical base, why it is necessary? It is necessary because ultimately when we are recruited, when we come to do service, means we become civil servants, or maybe anywhere in any department, ultimately for whom we work. Number one, we
For people.
work on
People.
the base of constitution that is
Mm,
drafted by people themselves in a way.
exactly.
Secondly, we work for the public. So ethical base reminds us that we are working for the government, we are working for the public. We have to take decisions which are in public interest. Okay,
Mm,
not in my own interest as a policeman, not in my own interest as a officer of some other department, not even in the interest of the department sometimes, not even in the interest of the government of the day,
mm,
but public interest. What is good for public? What is bad for public? According to that, we have to take the decision. As far as integrity is concerned, that is also very important, because honesty is included in your integrity. Then how
exactly.
do you reconcile this integrity part with the ethics? and your internal and external. Your internal this thing, your feeling, and your external, and then in a way, in your professional life as well as in your private life, is there any duality? That should not be there. So that is how we should tell the UPSC aspirants that they should have some kind of value base, ethical base, and then they should stick to it. It is not as if you are preparing for the examination for the sake of passing your paper. One paper I think they have introduced 250 marks. For that paper you are preparing, and you are giving idealistic answers. And the moment you join the service, then you forget everything. So if you are passing a paper, you are having a value. If you are losing that streak, means you are doing it only for passing an examination, forgetting when you are an officer, then you are not, your integrity is compromised, and your ethical base and your value system is also compromised. So you have to practice what you wrote in your examination and what you preach. You cannot have that kind of duality.
Yeah. So my next topic of discussion is going to be a little open-ended, and this came from a very famous commentator. I can't really uh, so I can't recall his or her name. Basic thing he said was the whole of Indian system, which is the constitution and the law and order, was basically designed to keep India in one piece. And so the line he told was that for us, the most important thing is order and sanctity. Okay, and next come progress and development. So, how would you look at this? Is this accurate, or is this somewhat misjudged from him?
No, it's not misjudgment or it's not exaggeration also, because ultimately some progress will happen if there is a order in the society, right? So, but these are kind of competing values. Public order, of course, is necessary because the very existence of state or coming into being this state was the security and safety of the people and safety of the society. And they did concede certain rights to the state, that they should be what we call the social contract uh, theory of a state formation, right? Social contract says that, yeah, people want security and peace, but they cannot, as a body of men, or as a civil society, they cannot enforce or cannot have order in the society. Some organized bodies required what we call state, but at the same time, they did not surrender all the rights to the state. Okay, they had the what we call the natural rights, and later on they became human rights, and now in our own constitution they are fundamental rights. So when we say that there should be order in the society, there should be a kind of balance. People's rights should also be respected while maintaining order. It is not as if only order matters, because otherwise what will happen if we focus only on order? Then how do we address the grievances of the people? Because ultimately there may be times when the governments may not be very responsive, and then people have kept a right with them in our fundamental rights, to right to association, right to assemble, and right to speak. These three rights, of course, are subject to limitations, and public order is one among them. But then there has to be a kind of balance. The court will decide what are the reasonable restrictions. So what we call the democratic corrective, that has to come through association, that has to come through assembly, that has to come through speech. Ultimately, if nobody listens to you, you have to put across your grievances to the government, the state authorities. Public order, of course, will be disturbed in some manner, but so long as people are assembling peacefully without arms, they are associating, they are not inciting violence, and in a peaceful manner, they are trying to put across their grievances, public order is not compromised. Okay. So public order is important, Law and order is important. State security is important. Reasonable restrictions can be imposed upon the rights of the people in the name of state security, in the name of public order, in the interest of public order, etc. There are 4 or 5 grounds in Article 19 based on which these rights can be restricted. But then, of course, you have to have some kind of balance where people have a right to democratic active also, and the state has a right to maintain order and public peace also. So that is how it should be.
Yes, sir. Uh, sir, so the next topic of discussion is mainly regarding the IPC, okay, and the developments which it has seen. Since IPC, it first came into force in I would say in the British era, India.
Yeah, 1860, yeah, it was.
1860, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that there needs to be an update to the whole of criminal code and law for modern day events? Because we don't real because as we see with the rise of technology, we see new types of crimes being committed, which people wouldn't have thought could have been done even in the past. So do you think there's a new framework to properly define, to properly prosecute, to properly go through all of the new things which are coming through? Yes, sir.
Already, I think government of India has enacted new IPC, CRPC, and Indian Act. And that from tomorrow, means rather tonight from 12:00 hours, they will come into effect. And before that, Information Technology Act was enacted in 2005. Okay, that addressed our cyber security issues as well as cyber crime, and that is being continuously upgraded in the light of new developments. Say now we have artificial intelligence, then we had problems about fake news, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, etc. Those issues are being addressed continuously. Yeah, substantive criminal laws, means procedural laws as well as penal laws, are quite old, enacted in 1861. The CRPC was revised again in I think 1886 and 1888 or 1882 and then 1898 and then in 1973, and now again it has been revised and being implemented for tomorrow. And then IPC has more or less remained same since 1860, and there were some changes which are rather piecemeal, but it is being updated in the light of new experiences during colonial period also and during post-colonial period also. Indian Evidence Act also was revised, but I think very minimal changes. In some cases, the proof of burden provisions were changed, but now it is being upgraded. Rather, they have been upgraded in the light of new technological development, in the light of new interpretation of certain clauses by the Supreme Court, or new social and economic realities in the country, or in the light of state security or geopolitics and kind of things. They have been upgraded. They will be implemented from tomorrow. I think the government and the state has already taken care of to take care of the new realities, and it will keep happening because it's a continuous process. Laws are very dynamic. Society is also very dynamic. Experiences will keep changing, and in the light of new experiences, new realities, laws will be upgraded in future also. I hope new laws will be very, very successful, and means they will be able to reduce now pendency in the courts as well as in the police stations also.
Yes, sir. So, sir, for the next area where I want to take the discussion a little forward is the NJAC. Okay, the new judicial reforms which are being planned, and the thing that the judges will not be selected by the order of their superiority internally, but rather through public knowledge. So, what effect, either good or bad, do you think this can have if this gets through? Because the courts will have to allow this to happen. So,
You see, Ultimately, you see, any selection procedure which doesn't compromise the independence of the judiciary is good. Okay. So as per our constitutional provisions, there has to be some procedure. Right now, we have a collegium system. It's also working well. There are certain debates about it. Okay, new law was also enacted, but then that was disallowed by the Supreme Court itself on the basis of uh, basic feature of the Constitution, etc. But ultimately, you see, as I told, in the light of new realities, when they do emerge, when we see that a system is not working properly, some other system has to be developed, evolved, and then has to be tested. And the ultimate, the touchstone is that the independence of the judiciary. Whatever system we adopt, whosoever appoints the judges, it should not compromise the independence of the judiciary, which is a basic feature of our constitution.
So, as following upon you just said, so uh, so there are two things which kind of stand out. The first thing is the independence of the judiciary to enforce the laws which are made by the executive. The second thing is the independence of the judiciary to basically reject any decisions which the judiciary thinks is not for the independence of the judiciary, if I'm getting this right. So how can these two sit together and coexist?
So
Because on the
naturally,
one
you have
hand, yeah, go on.
no. You complete your answer. Sorry, question.
Yeah, yeah. Because on one hand, the judiciary has to follow the laws, not follow, the judiciary has to enforce the laws which have been made by uh, the legislature and which is being enforced by the executive. But on the other hand, the judiciary can also reject or it can reject laws which it thinks is against the basic features of the constitution by their own interpretation, if I'm getting it right. So how does this sit together? How does this contradiction play out in the real world? If you
You see, the
can.
constitution itself has given a right to the, I mean, power to the judiciary to interpret law, right? That is there in the constitution by way of judicial review. So if they find that something is contradictory or doesn't gel with the or sit with the constitution, naturally that is their duty. And basic feature, of course, means there is a lot of discussion on this particular topic in the society as well as in legal circles, and people have their own views. Okay, but then you see it's working well, I suppose. How many laws have been declared unconstitutional based on this? Very few laws, very few issues where judiciary
Very true.
has means invoked this basic feature principle. Of course, they have, no doubt about it. But you see, ultimately, judiciary has been given a power of judicial review. And basic feature of the constitution is one of the principles based on which they carry out this judicial review. Okay, if they find it that in conflict with the kind of this thing, they do declare some law unconstitutional. But then it's also a debatable issue in our society, and there are many takers and there are many means those who are opposing it. But anyway, this debate is healthy. This should continue. Okay, nothing wrong about it. I think it's a very healthy debate, and maybe something may evolve out of it also.
That was nice to hear, sir. So Tejas, please go on.
Okay, sir. So I wanted to ask you a question. Like many of our viewers are preparing for civil services examination. So who should opt for police services? So generally, sir, people feel the preference as administration services first, foreign service, and then preferred police service or revenue services.
You see,
So
this is
what do you
very
think?
personal kind of. This is very personal kind of your aptitude and what you want to do in your life, right?
Exactly, sir.
That is your own choice. Ultimately, there are many people, those who top, or maybe they were in the first among first 50s or first 10 or first 20, but then they opted for means Indian police service. So they liked it. They wanted to do something different from what other services they do. This is a very personal kind of choice, and means nobody can tell means parents that they should opt for IPS or IAS or IRS. This is very means what you want to do, you decide on your own.
Okay.
So it's nearly 8, and I think we don't want to take a lot of your time. So we'll go with the
Not an
last
issue.
question.
Time,
It's
time
okay.
is not an issue. Don't
Yeah,
worry. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So the last question. So the question is so that navigating intersectionality is crucial for addressing discrimination, prejudice, and inequality within the police department. So in your time, okay, uh, so how did you work to address discrimination, and what are some initiatives which you can tell us about, which are being implemented today to address this issue?
No, let me have one clarification. You mean to say within the police department, or means while we police the society, then this issue comes up, intersectionality?
Yes, sir. Uh,
No,
so
when we
basically,
enforce law,
yes. I'm talking about that.
when we enforce law. Okay, okay. Intersectionality, is a comparatively new discipline which was uh, articulated by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989 in a very famous article. When there was an American case where black women they had been disallowed equality in certain employment matters, and then it evolved out of that article, and then critical race theory, etc., out of those issues. So basically, it was an issue with black women, black men, and white women, how differently they are placed, how their experiences are different, and how the protected characteristics they intersect. Okay, and how all the characteristics are not taken into account by the court. It's a kind of what we call a single axis. She called it single axis discrimination. Like in our constitution in Article 15, we have certain grounds, five grounds, on the basis of which people cannot be discriminated. Okay, but then there is a problem with that article also. Okay, it's a single axis kind of, which means there are Supreme Court judgments when they said that discrimination on one ground is a discrimination, but one ground plus is not discrimination. Okay, I don't want to go into legal aspects of this, but then there is a problem. People have multiple identities. Okay, single person, like if I can say like that, a woman, and moreover, a Dalit woman, she has many kind of identities. She's a woman. Caste is a problem. Okay, caste is also an identity, and class is also an identity because she's landless. Okay, caste, we know what is caste in India, right? And then woman itself. Now, her experience as a woman from a upper caste woman, okay, if you are judging his discrimination or his equality, or comparing that equality or discrimination based on the experience of a upper caste woman, then he will be doubly discriminated. Okay, so when I say caste, class, and uh, sorry,
Gender.
sex, right? Gender, sorry, not sex, gender. So these are three different identities, and she can be discriminated based on all these three identities. Okay, and that is not addition of, means discrimination on the basis of gender, discrimination on the basis of caste, discrimination on the basis of class. This is not addition. This is much more than that. This is a compounding kind of problem. Okay, so when we enforce law, let me make a statement here. Rather, people say that what I'm saying, but intersectionality still is a non-issue in policing. Very few people know about what intersectionality is and how it can be applied while investigating crimes, especially when we have, say, uh, Atrocities Act, what we call. We investigate cases. There is a scope of applying the intersectionality principles while applying investigating these cases. There are 2-3 judgments of the Supreme Court where they have means in one case they means of course that was not about intersectionality, but that is a different issue. But in one case, the Supreme Court examined that particular case on the basis of intersectionality principles. Okay. Then when they sentenced the person, the accused, intersectionality principles were taken as aggravating principle. Okay. So now that is at the level of the Supreme Court or the High Court. We have to gather evidence at the investigation level about intersectionality also, which we most of the time fail. Okay, how people are being discriminated. I was inspecting one police station a year ago, means when I was in service, and there was a rape case. And I was sitting in police station and asked for that particular case. And then, as usual, the investigating officer, he told me, sir, it's a consensual kind of relationship. Okay, case was pending. Then I asked him, is it a relationship of dominance? And he was confused. What is this relationship of dominance? Then I showed him a section in the Indian Penal Code. You see, there is a particular section in subsection in section 376 of the Indian Penal Code where they say if there is a relationship of dominance, then the investigation has to be on different lines. So when I told him, then he reluctantly agreed that yes, I'll try to find out whether this was the facts of the case was such that I thought that it's a relationship of dominance. So that is one part of could have become part of intersectionality. So intersectionality, as I told, very few people know about it. This is also a contested subject in India. There are many takers and many dissenters also that how it is not applicable in India. Some scholars say, yes, it is applicable and more relevant to India. But to expect police to investigate cases on the basis of intersectionality principle, I think still means we have to educate our people. They have to understand, as it is, this principle of intersectionality is a very, very complex issue. And it will take some time to understand what kind of relations we have at the ground level and how these principles are applied and how the courts will also take it and how to present the evidence about these issues and how from where to gather this evidence. So these are the issues. But in any case, because I have studied this subject for some time, so in many cases I could relate and tell people also that yes, we can investigate this particular case on these lines. They might have tried also because at senior level situation, you are not able to take care of every case personally. But I think intersectionality is more relevant for India given the systems we have of dominance, like caste system or about feminism also. I think this can be a very useful tool for investigating certain kind of cases where we have means especially cases about caste atrocities as well as about domestic violence and then atrocities of means violence against women in general. These principles can be very useful for I think detecting the true nature of those cases of violence and discrimination. Of course, discrimination, police doesn't investigate cases from discrimination or equality point of view. These are constitutional issues, and if somebody is being discriminated or there is equality principle, somebody has to go to the victim has to go to the court, at least to the High Court, and then to the Supreme Court, and only then some principles can be enforced. But in investigating crimes, especially against a woman, even children, and what we have now, untouchability offenses or civil rights cases offenses against SC/STs. There, I think intersectionality has a great scope and certainly should be taught to the policemen also, and they should apply these principles. But I think that this will take time. It's a very complex issue. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that was the last question, sir. Thank you so much for your taking time for the policy podcast. We extend a heartiest grateful from the team of PPGS IIT Kharagpur. Like we hope for more, sir, insightful and collaboration in future, sir. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
yeah,
sir.
thank you so much. I enjoyed this talk greatly, and uh, also means sort of enjoyed talking to you people. So thank you so much for having me on this prestigious podcast, and hope we'll keep this thread continue. Okay, thank you so
Definitely.
much.